Beneath the familiar, romantic cityscape of Paris lies another realm, thousands of feet below, a world untouched by sunlight, the Catacombs of Paris. A labyrinth of tunnels filled with the remains of millions, a subterranean empire where history and death intertwine. For years I had devoured tales of this place, imagining the chilling atmosphere of this vast underground ossuary, created from bones moved from overflowing cemeteries in the 18th century, the macabre inscriptions carved into its walls. But no reading, no photograph, could have prepared me for the biting cold, the suffocating air, and the profound sense of isolation that enveloped me the moment I stepped within. This is a prime location for anyone interested in haunted places and urban exploration. Obtaining permission to venture beyond the tourist routes, deep into the officially closed sections of these creepy places, took weeks. My only companions were my flashlight, voice recorder, a small first aid kit, and an insatiable, perhaps foolish curiosity. As I descended the stone steps, the sounds of the Parisian streets above slowly faded, replaced by a deep, unsettling hum that seemed to rise from the earth itself. The air was thick with the scent of decay, a cloying mix of dampness and mold, the very essence of a haunted history. Initially wider, the tunnels gradually constricted, as if the world were closing in on me. The walls glistened with moisture, like they were weeping, and in places moss grew, resembling ghostly tears. My breath caught when I first encountered a wall of bones, thousands upon thousands, meticulously arranged, skulls, femurs, tibias, all stacked with a chilling artistry, as if death itself had been the architect. The erosive touch of time and mortality was evident on each bone. As the beam of my flashlight danced across them, I felt as though countless empty eye sockets were staring back at me, questioning my intrusion. This wasn't merely a burial ground. It was a collective monument, a vast, pallid archive of Paris's dead, a perfect subject for ghost stories and scary videos. Deeper within, the faint static from my voice recorder intensified. At first I only captured the silence and the sound of my own breathing, but now I occasionally picked up an unintelligible whisper. It was as if the bones in the walls, after centuries of silence, were trying to communicate, to reveal the chilling secrets held within these spooky places. A shiver ran down my spine as I passed beneath an inscription reading Carrière de Paris, and the grim tale of Philibert Aspairt flashed through my mind, the 19th century doorkeeper who ventured into these tunnels to find a secret staircase to the Val de Grace cellar and vanished, only to be found 11 years later, his lantern still in hand, leaning against a wall. Had he succumbed to starvation, or to the crushing weight of madness in this subterranean maze? His fate was a stark reminder of the dangers of urban exploration in such a treacherous environment. I squeezed through a narrow passage and found myself in an older, more raw section. Here the bones were more haphazardly placed, erupting from the earthen floor as if hastily discarded. The inscriptions on the walls were fainter, some completely eroded, illegible remnants of a forgotten time. The beam of my flashlight revealed an opening at the end of a dimly lit corridor. Torn between fear and an overwhelming curiosity, I was drawn to it like a moth to a flame, a classic element in any good paranormal investigation. The space I entered was unlike anything I had seen before. In the center, within a small alcove, nestled amongst hundreds of bones, sat a decayed doll, its fabric tattered and stained. Covered in dust and cobwebs, it was clear it had once been vibrant, perhaps a beloved toy. This was something never shown on the tourist routes, a secret hidden deep within the haunted history of this place. Who had left it here? the lingering spirit of a child. At that moment, I noticed a dry, skeletal hand lying on the ground beside the doll, an unsettling detail for any ghost-hunting enthusiast. The hand ended in a bone-white wrist, and upon one of the finger bones was a fresh, bloody scratch. Someone had been here very recently. I wasn't alone in this labyrinth, and now another living presence had marked its passage. Just then, a clear whisper emanated from my voice recorder. "Don't go deeper!" The voice sounded like a child's, choked with fear and sorrow. My blood ran cold, and goosebumps erupted across my skin. I spun around, but the inky blackness beyond my flashlight's beam revealed nothing. Every instinct screamed at me to turn back. But an unseen force, the allure of the unknown, the desire to uncover more chilling secrets, propelled me further into the darkness. It was as if the catacombs themselves were beckoning me. The next tunnel was narrow and low, forcing me to crawl on my hands and knees. The ceiling and walls were a chaotic web of damp rock. With each movement, my head bumped against the low ceiling, sending dust and small pebbles raining down on me. The air here grew even heavier, my lungs struggling to draw breath. I couldn't shake the thought that the remains of aristocrats and other victims of the French Revolution, guillotined and then unceremoniously interred here, also rested in these very walls. Perhaps this oppressive atmosphere carried the weight of their final breaths, their last terrified gasps. Suddenly, my flashlight flickered erratically, then died completely, plunging me into absolute darkness, a scenario straight out of the most terrifying, scary videos. I was trapped, entombed in the blackness. My heart hammered against my ribs. My trembling hand fumbled for my phone, but there was no signal. I was in a dead zone, a truly spooky place to be stranded. My voice recorder was still running, but now it only captured a low hum and the rustling of my own panicked movements. I held my breath. Then, from the darkness directly in front of me, not a whisper, but a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream pierced the silence. The scream, filled with pure terror, cut off abruptly, followed by choked sobs. Then the distinct sound of a stone clattering against the ground echoed through the tunnel. I frantically tried to reignite my flashlight, but it remained stubbornly inert. My only source of light was gone. That's when I realized this scream was no ordinary sound. It could have been an echo of the legend of the lost nun, said to have sought refuge in the catacombs during the French Revolution in 1789, and vanished without a trace. Tales circulated of people hearing her desperate cries within the labyrinthine tunnels. Was that her anguished spirit I had just encountered? A chilling testament to the haunted history buried beneath Paris. As I tried to orient myself in the pitch black, my foot caught on something, and I tumbled to the ground, a sharp pain shooting through my knee. I cried out involuntarily. My hand landed on a cold, bony object on the floor. Even without my flashlight, I knew what it was, a skull. As I lay there, disoriented, a blast of icy air suddenly washed over my face, as if someone had exhaled right beside me, carrying the unmistakable scent of damp earth and ancient decay from a nearby ossuary. Then the whispers I had heard earlier were no longer faint. They were distinct, chillingly close, as if breathed directly into my ear. "You have seen us. Now you are one of us." A classic trope in ghost stories, but terrifyingly real in that moment. Panic surged through me. I scrambled to my feet, no longer needing my flashlight to find my way back. Instinct was now a stronger guide than mere curiosity. My head swam, and the air grew heavy with the pungent odor of sulfur, not the smell of death, but of something far more sinister, something demonic lurking in these creepy places. From the end of the tunnel in the distance, I heard a disconcerting, rhythmic clicking sound. It was as if someone or something was slowly tapping a bone against a stone. This sound began to pursue me, growing closer with each terrifying second. A soundtrack to my desperate flight through this underground haunted prison. I began to run blindly, stumbling through the darkness, colliding with walls of bones, the dust and mold stinging my throat, stealing my breath. The clicking sound accelerated behind me, like something gaining on its prey. Suddenly I saw a faint, artificial glow filtering through the gaps in the bone-laden walls. Hope surged through me. I recognized it as light from the tourist section, emanating from a ventilation shaft, my escape. With a final surge of adrenaline, I lunged towards the sliver of light and tumbled out into the relative brightness of the public catacombs. The clicking sound behind me abruptly ceased, as if my unseen pursuer couldn't cross that threshold. The sunlight above ground felt blinding. Ignoring the startled looks of the tourists around me, I gasped for breath, pulling myself away from that dark abyss. Looking back, I could still swear I heard the whispers of countless bones echoing from the darkness, a silent, chilling reminder of what lay beneath. For days after my descent into the catacombs of Paris, I was haunted. The acrid smell, the piercing scream, the relentless whispers of bones were etched into my mind. I knew then that beneath the city of lights lay not just the dead, but also the echoes of lost minds, the trapped whispers of souls forever bound to that subterranean labyrinth. And I that night had carried a piece of that darkness back to the surface with me. Paris was no longer just the city of love. It was now a city built upon a foundation of bones and whispers, where shadows danced and a silent, eternal graveyard stretched beneath my feet. And I knew with a chilling certainty that I would never venture into those dark depths again, because the whispers of bones had told me, "You are one of us now." And I knew that story, that terrifying encounter, would forever linger within me, a true tale for anyone fascinated by paranormal activity.